Hello, welcome back to Roy's Workshop, and today we're finally plucking the motor out of VBX. We've got everything disconnected as you saw in our previous episode, and now all that's holding it in is it's resting on the engine mounts. The engine mounts are loose on both sides, and it's only the bell housing bolts that are holding it all in. See, I've got the rope on top ready. I'm now going to get the crane and swing that across so I can get the engine somewhere near. I'll leave the handbrake off so I can move the car forwards and backwards, because the engine, once it's on the hoist, will be fairly safe. It can move left and right, but it can't go forwards and backwards. The car can do that. So yeah, I'm going to throw that in. I'm going to grab the oil pressure gauge that I've bought isn't the correct thread, and it doesn't have the adapter so I can put the oil pressure sensor in. So hopefully later on today I'm going to pop into somewhere and grab a brand new oil pressure gauge so we can get that going, and then we'll pluck this one out, transfer the watt pump and the alternator across, lift this engine, put that engine down on the deck, lift that engine up, put the bell housing adapter on and the flywheel, clutch on, in, turnkey, run in 5 o'clock. No, it won't. It won't. It's going to take a few days because I've got to go out later on today, and I've got to do a couple of other things. So it's going to take a little bit longer than what I wanted, but hey, such is life. I just hope it's right. So I'm going to undo the bolts. I won't film it because I'm going to be under the car most of the time, and I'll start filming once I start plucking it out. So stay tuned. Hooey! So it's been a few days since I last spoke to you, and I've been tinkering on. Let me show you. Here we go. And there we go. Remembering which button does what. I've fitted the rocker cover, although I need to get the proper rubbers that go in here, as this original engine has longer studs. So these are incorrect, but they'll do for now. I've fitted the lightened and balanced flywheel and clutch cover to it, all torqued down properly. I ended up using the bell housing adapter off of the engine that was in it because that was easier, as it has all of the studs, but I hadn't realised I was missing some off the original one. But I can change that if I really want to in the future. Alternator's fitted, the front end is all fitted, it's got the proper water pump on it, and obviously all the gaskets that are in this engine, in fact most of the parts, all of the parts are from Baymac. All the machining has been done by Hamlin's Engineering in Bridgewater. Fantastic company, I cannot recommend them enough. They'll have a link down below, and obviously all the performance parts, the Stage 2.2 head, the camshaft, and the pistons have all come from ACR up in Wales, just like Chester sort of way. What else have I done? We've fitted new clutch release bearing. I've had the clutch fork out, and had to tinker with the push rod from the clutch slave cylinder because I bought this plastic clip, and as it turns out this is the incorrect one. The one that I should have got should have the clips that comes through the middle and then out, but never mind. If you want it, let me know. I have it. But now it's time for me to get somewhere near. The engine is about ready. It has no oil in it. The loom is fitted. Everything's timed up vaguely right, I think. I had to... Oh, that's one thing I had to do. I ordered the wrong... Oh, it's still at the house. The spigot bearing, or the clutch input bearing, the bronze bearing that goes in the back of the crankshaft. I had accidentally ordered the wrong one, so this morning I had to nip out. Luckily, there's a company fairly local to me down in Taunton, HLR Land Rover, and there are breakers for all Land Rovers, but they also carry some spares. I managed to find them on eBay, so massive thanks to them for grabbing for having that in stock. And then I've obviously thrown that in as well. I am waiting on some other spares to come, an adapter for the oil pressure gauge. Although I think I'm just going to end up buying a whole new gauge, because the one that I've got has the wrong threads on it. But we'll get there. But now my intention is to throw the lump in, get it all tightened down, new engine mounts. I noticed on one of the gearbox mounts it's perished and tore off, so I need to change that. And now I need to start getting it in, getting it running. Oh God. It's one of those things you detest turning the key, but you really want to see what happens. I'll motor it over without any spark plugs in it, so I know I've got oil pressure first. And then we'll start thinking about adding fuel and ignition to it. It's a bit of a mess here because I keep coming in, going out. I've cleaned up the inlet and the exhaust manifolds. I haven't rebuilt the carb yet. Came up in my calendar that I rebuilt the carb 7 years ago, so I don't know if I may rebuild it. I may not yet. I don't know. I probably will after, or just before it goes to the dyno. I'm going to do the 600 miles running miles, and then I'm going to send it to the dyno to have the 123 ignition distributor fitted, and to try and eke out as much power as we can out of this little lump. But it's all good fun. So let me set up the time lapse of me putting this into the car, and hopefully it won't be too far off. We'll see in a sec. So I had to show you this because obviously trying to fit an engine on your own isn't the most easiest of tasks. But I know I haven't put any bolts in yet, but hopefully this is a good omen. I bloody hope so. But it just slipped in. How often do you hear a man just say that? It just slipped in. So I'm quite pleased with that. Hopefully, obviously I lined everything up. I don't have a clutch alignment tool. I've never really used one. I just used the old socket in it, lined it up a bit, tightened it up, wagged it. Yeah, it looks about right. So thankfully, that's worked out quite well. So I'm going to carry on. I'll bolt it all up, get everything mated correctly, start looking at engine mounts. And I do need to change one of the gearbox mounts. So I'll probably do that once the engine's done. I can then use the engine to lift and lower it down, and the jack to manipulate it. You probably saw me put the jack underneath, down the middle. Where is she? Where's Jacques? There he is. This is Jacques' handle. That's because in fact, I'll show you here. That's because the exhaust downpipe was leaning right over, and I couldn't get anywhere near it. And being on my own, you need to work out wonderful ways of getting stuff out of the way. So that's what I ended up doing. That's what I was doing. But unfortunately, we'll go back to the time lapse of me bolting everything up, and then I'll show you what I'm up to once I'm somewhere near. And the DJI's lost my face. It's just here. It's pretty good looking. A little bit different from my haircut, I know, but there we go. Right, back to the time lapse. Oh, so a bit of an update, I suppose, is what's in order. The engine's in. Can't believe it, really. It's been 2.5, 3 years in the making, at least. By the time I placed the first order the first thing I bought was the ACR camshaft, to now, actually, yeah, probably three, maybe 4 years. I've built this engine for me, and it's probably not to everybody else's taste. Everybody else would probably like to have a brand new water pump and brand new, nice new shiny bits. And don't get me wrong, the only thing I would change now is the exhaust manifold. But I've tried a tubular manifold from a certain company. It wasn't a great standard. Sent it back for repair, came back, and it still wasn't up to my standard. So I got full refund, and I'm waiting. There's a guy in America who's now got the designs for a tubular manifold that he's building for me, but apparently Porsche Le Mans Racing, their order takes precedence over mine. Go figure. But anyway, I digress. Where I'm up to now is the engine is fully in, it's fully bolted in, flywheel bolts, bell housing bolts, engine mounts. It's back on its full engine mounts. I have noticed that the gearbox mounts are shafted, so I now need to change them before it's MOT. Inlet and manifolds on, exhaust manifolds on, and I've just realised now that that isn't the carb that I rebuilt a couple of years ago. That carb is in another storage box. So what I'm going to do is I'll get it running with this carb as it is. Once I get it running, make sure it's right. Before we go for the dyno session, I'll rebuild that carb. There's a couple of bits that I need to order as well, but at the moment it can get into a running state as is, and then I can get an MOT on it and go from there. So I'm just about to put the oil in it actually. Exciting times. We'll get the oil. So you can see how long this oil's been waiting. This is from ACR, Roland and Sheila. 5 litres, change oil after 10 hours of 500 miles. Oh, 500 miles, that's alright. I thought it was 600. Could probably do that in a week. So what I'm going to do now is, my oil pressure gauge doesn't fit, as I probably mentioned earlier. The adapter's coming. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to run over to James's, who you may remember from the Haflinger video, the guy who I picked up the Haflinger for. And funny enough, the same place that I did the 200 TDI engine change in the Discovery. I'm going to see him. He has an oil pressure gauge, the Draper adapter type thing. So I'm going to ask to borrow that, and then I won't turn the key until I've got that, because what I want to do is take the spark plugs out, motor the engine over so I know I've got oil pressure and there shouldn't be anything drastic. Motor it over without any ignition on, and then I'll turn the ignition on. The ignition is on a separate switch on this engine, so I can turn it over on the key and the ignition won't be on, but the fuel will be. But that's no issues. I have to change the fuel filter. I've owned this car for many years, and I've never. That's not the oil filter I want. This is the fuel filter that I want, and I've never changed the fuel filter. So today, what a cute little filter. So I'm going to go and change that a little bit later on. Once I've dropped the oil in, let's drop the oil in now. Whilst I'm here. That's all I can do now until, excuse me, I have the, not that tall. So yeah, so that's all I can do till the next scene, where hopefully I've got James's oil pressure gauge. Catch up with you in a moment. So it's the next day. I've collected the oil pressure gauge from James this morning, and unfortunately, of all the adapters to be missing, the one that I need is missing. Not to worry though. It's annoying. It's one of those things. Do I do it? Do I wait? You can probably hear the fuel pump clicking in the background. That I'm going to do it. I put in the standard oil pressure switch, so I've got the oil pressure light, so I know that there's at least 7 pounds of pressure going through, and at this sort of speed it'll be fine until I can get either a proper working gauge. I'm going to nip into town, and the new oil pressure adapter will be here, and then I need to go and get the parts for my oil pressure gauge, which I think I'm going to use. I don't know yet. What I've done is I've disconnected the switch from the key, so I can be at the engine, and I've got it on here, so I can turn it over, and also I can see the oil pressure light from here. I just want to make sure that I've got oil coming out and from all the orifices. Once it gets up to the top and comes out the top of the assembly, the tappet assembly, we're quite happy that there will be oil pressure everywhere else. But first I do need to check the oil level and get a clean rag. I need to go into town. I need to go and grab a new battery because the battery on this, it's been charging ever since I pulled it in, which has been a few days now, and it's still not holding a particularly good charge. So I'll grab a Discovery TD5 battery, which I've been told is the one to have. We'll add a little bit more. The normal lark, so we'll get it rid in, we'll get it turning over, and then we'll see how she is from there. The spark plugs are out, so it should turn motor over really quickly. I've got the other jump, I've got the other battery on to jump the duff one. Right, neutral, fuel pump, oil pressure light. And should we fire up the GoPro? Yeah. See if the GoPro's playing ball today. Oh. Okay, so now you're with me on the handheld camera. So this is what we've got. Rocker cover's off, it's all full of oil. Dipstick. Spark plugs are over there on the wing, as you can see. I have the key. Woo! And there's the oil pressure light. So, keep you on there so you can see if anything goes wrong. Okay, oil pressure light's gone out. And there's oil coming out the top of that rocker there. Excellent. I'll put the rocker cover back on, chuck the spark plugs back in. No, I won't. I'm going to go and get an oil pressure gauge first. I'll run into town, grab an oil pressure gauge from Yeovil Hydraulics, get some adapters and what have you, and try and make that gauge work. And then I'll get a new battery whilst I'm in town, because that's just around the corner. And yeah, we'll go from there. So let's go and do that, Rory. That's a good idea. Good idea.